I was a camping enthusiast. I loved the outdoors, the nature, the adventure. I had been to many camping sites, but I wanted to try something new. I wanted to go to a remote and wild place where no one had ever been before. I did some research and found a spot in the mountains near a lake. It was not on any map, and it had no reviews or ratings. It was perfect for me. I packed my tent, my sleeping bag, my flashlight, and some food and water. I drove to the nearest town and then hiked for several hours until I reached the lake. It was beautiful. The water was clear and calm, reflecting the sky and the trees. The air was fresh and crisp, and the silence was soothing. I set up my tent near the shore and started a fire. I cooked some food and ate it while watching the sunset. I felt happy and relaxed. I decided to go for a swim before going to bed. I stripped off my clothes and jumped into the water. It was cold but refreshing. I swam around for a while, enjoying the feeling of freedom. Then I heard a splash behind me. I turned around and saw something in the water. It was big, dark, and scaly. It had fins, claws, and teeth. It looked like a monster from a horror movie. It was coming towards me. I screamed and swam for the shore, but it was faster than me. It caught up with me and grabbed my leg. It pulled me under the water. I felt its teeth sink into my flesh. I felt its blood mix with mine. I tried to fight back, but it was useless. It dragged me deeper and deeper into the lake. It was the end. I was a hiker who loved to explore new trails. I had been to many places, but I wanted to try something different. I wanted to go to a haunted forest where no one had ever returned from. I did some research and found a location in the woods near a cabin. It was not on any map, and it had no reviews or ratings. It was perfect for me. I packed my backpack, my knife, my flashlight, and some food and water. I drove to the nearest town and then walked for several hours until I reached the cabin. It was old and run down, with broken windows and a rusty roof. There was no sign of life, except for a faint light in the attic. I decided to check it out. Maybe there was someone who could tell me more about the forest. I knocked on the door, but there was no answer. I tried to open it, but it was locked. I looked around and saw a ladder leading up to the attic. I climbed it and opened the hatch. I saw a man sitting on a chair, facing away from me. He had long hair and a beard, and he was wearing a hat and a coat. He said, "Hello, hiker. I've been expecting you." He turned around and looked at me. He had no face, only a blank skin. He smiled and said, "Welcome to my home." He reached for a shotgun that was leaning against the wall. He aimed it at me and pulled the trigger. The end. I was a journalist who loved to investigate unsolved mysteries. I had been to many places, but I wanted to try something different. I wanted to go to a haunted hotel where no one had ever survived the night. I did some research and found a location in the city near a park. It was not on any map, and it had no reviews or ratings. It was perfect for me. I packed my laptop, my camera, my recorder, and some food and water. I drove to the nearest parking lot and then walked for several minutes until I reached the hotel. It was tall and elegant, with marble columns and a red carpet. There was a sign that said, "Welcome to the Grand Hotel." I entered the lobby and saw a man behind the desk. He had gray hair and a mustache, and he was wearing a suit and a tie. He said, "Hello, journalist. I've been expecting you." He handed me a key and said, "Your room is on the 13th floor. Enjoy your stay." He smiled and said, "You're the first guest in a long time." I felt a chill run down my spine. I wondered what he meant by that. I took the key and went to the elevator. I pressed the button for the 13th floor. The elevator doors closed and the elevator started to move. But it didn't stop at the 13th floor. It kept going up and up and up. I looked at the display and saw that it was showing numbers that didn't make sense. It showed 14, 15, 16, 17. Then it showed symbols, letters, and shapes. Then it showed nothing at all. The elevator stopped and the doors opened. I saw a dark and twisted hallway. There were no lights, no doors, no windows. There was only a sign that said, "Welcome to Hell." I heard a laugh from behind me. I turned around and saw the man from the desk. He had no eyes, only empty sockets. He said, "Journalist, you're just in time." He pushed me out of the elevator. The end. I was a photographer who loved to capture rare and exotic animals. I had been to many places, but I wanted to try something different. I wanted to go to a haunted zoo where no one had ever seen the creatures. I did some research and found a location in the jungle near a river. It was not on any map, and it had no reviews or ratings. It was perfect for me. I packed my camera, my tripod, my flashlight, and some food and water. I flew to the nearest airport and then took a boat to the river. It was a sunny and hot day, and the river was calm and clear. I enjoyed the scenery and the wildlife. I reached the zoo and saw a fence with a sign that said, "Welcome to the Zoo of Horrors." I entered the gate and saw a map of the zoo. It had different sections, such as the reptile house, the bird cage, and the carnivore den. I decided to start with the reptile house. Maybe I could find some snakes, lizards, or crocodiles. I walked to the reptile house and saw a glass door with a sign that said, "Enter at your own risk." I opened the door and stepped inside. The reptile house was dark and humid, with cages and tanks lining the walls. There were no lights, no signs, no labels. There were only sounds. Sounds of hissing, slithering, and snapping. I turned on my flashlight and looked around. I saw snakes of all sizes and colors, some venomous, some not. I saw lizards of all shapes and forms, some spiky, some smooth. I saw crocodiles of all lengths and widths, some big, some small. They all looked at me with cold and hungry eyes. They all wanted to eat me. I felt a surge of fear and curiosity. I wanted to take pictures of them, but I also wanted to get out of there. I took out my camera and started snapping photos. But then I made a mistake. I forgot to turn off the flash. The flash startled the animals. They started to break out of their cages and tanks. They started to chase me. I screamed and ran for the door, but it was too late. The door was locked and jammed. I was trapped in the reptile house with the animals, and they did not like me.